I wouldn't say that he was important at the beginning, but he was the start of the whole thing. And Chris Baines was known to DEA as a traveling vice lord, not necessarily a full-on member of the big gang, but you know, he was a significant narcotics trafficker on the west side, lived in Maywood. And like a lot of these cases, right, DEA got started looking at somebody that they know about, and the case agent had a cooperating source who could buy into Baines, and that's how we work these things, right? So he had a source who was able to buy into Baines and make recorded phone call, and that got us up on a T3 wiretap on Baines's phone. And little did I know at the time that that was going to be the beginning of an 8-year odyssey of going from Baines to Michael King to the Flores brothers in Mexico, and then to Chapo. And that's, you know, it's kind of law enforcement 101. That's what we do. We get I wouldn't say Chris Baines was low-hanging fruit. He was a mid-level, pretty significant drug trafficker, but that's the way we do it. And that's what we did in this case.
The Feds started out with Christopher Baines, and they quickly moved up the ladder. They wound up targeting Todd Howard, who is a big-time drug supplier in Kentucky, and he led them to the twins, Margarito and Pedro Flores, who have been called the biggest drug dealers in Chicago history. In November 2008, Pedro Flores was at home when he called El Chapo, and they discussed a major drug deal. It was gold for prosecutors, but Pedro Flores risked his life by making that call. It was the first time that prosecutors caught El Chapo on audio making a drug deal. It became key evidence in the 2009 indictment against him in Chicago.
It was about 10 o'clock at night, November 10th, 2008. And the case agent, whose name I won't use, but he knows who he is, and I were in my office, the U.S. Attorney's office, and we got the recording from Mexico. It was an 8-kilo heroin deal at a Best Buy, at a Home Depot, about 9 miles, 10 miles due west of the Loop. And I remember taking the elevator down with the case agent, and he said, "We've got Chapo. Question now is whether we can get Mayo." And I don't want to say we were giddy, because we knew what we were dealing with.
Hollywood actor Sean Penn and Mexican actress Kate Del Castillo met El Chapo at a mountaintop hideout in September 2015. Sean Penn was working as a reporter for the Rolling Stone magazine at the time. In his story that was published in January 2016, he quoted El Chapo directly. He says, "I supply more heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, and marijuana than anybody else in the world. I have a fleet of submarines, airplanes, trucks, and boats."
You know, at the time, before Sean Penn flew down to Mexico with Kate Del Castillo and recorded this thing, and where Chapo admitted he was the largest drug trafficker in the world, we had the only legally admissible voice recording of Chapo in the world. We indicted 62 of the top level members of the Sinaloa cartel, and at the end of the day, we were 58 for 58. The only 4 guys that we didn't convict were guys who were either murdered in Mexico or were and remain fugitives. Chapo's one of them, Mayo's one of them, Chapo's kids. It's amazing we didn't make more mistakes, and it's amazing that more guys weren't killed on our watch. I'm the son of a guy who won the Silver Star in Battle of the Bulge. He's an incredibly moral man. My dad was my hero. It's one of the reasons I took this job, because I wanted to try to live up to him. And now I got diagnosed with PTSD. You know, I woke up every day for 6.5 years, afraid that I was going to make a mistake that was going to get somebody killed. And you know, you only need to see somebody get decapitated with a chainsaw once, and it sticks with you. My refuge every day was 45 minutes in the Federale watering hole with the DEA and FBI agents I was working with. And, you know, I didn't do myself any favors. And I own up to that. But I also did my job, you know. So on the one hand, professionally, I did the right thing by our country. But on a personal level, it hasn't been easy. And I don't know how you put it. I started drinking too much. So long as there's demand in this country, it's not that complicated, right? Drugs come up from Colombia, come through Mexico, come to the United States, and money and guns go back. And so long as people continue to consume, it starts with alcohol, but opiates, the opiate epidemic, big pharma. As long as people become and remain addicted to mood-altering substances, there are going to be people who are going to try to profit over it. And that's where the cartels come in. You get people who are profiting off of addiction. All over the place. Rehab centers, the recovery community, drug suppliers, cartels, they're all feasting off of human misery.